This News Update is brought to you by
It's Friday, June 13th, 2014. Time for the 6 p.m. Barbados Today update. I'm Kamar Jordan. Good evening. Finance Minister Chris Sinckler is not dismayed by the prospects of a possible second downgrade by another international rating agency. On Thursday, Standard & Poor's served notice that it may have to slash the country's rating on the heels of the triple-notch downgrade by Moody's Investor Services last week. Mr. Sinclair tells Barbados Today while he understands that the ratings agencies and the entire country are anxious to see a turnaround, it won't happen overnight. He insists it's unreasonable to expect that in the next 6 months, the island will record 3% growth. However, the finance minister remains confident the island will meet its expenditure targets, even as Standard & Poor's suggests that Barbados government is not cutting enough. Sinclair maintains the expenditure cuts are adequate enough, but he made it clear that if revenue does not meet targets, then the government will have to look at even more cuts. Meantime, the Barbados Workers Union steps into the local chicken wing saga, raising alarm that Barbadian producers are being bypassed and that the development could seriously hurt the local sector. The union is also pointing the accusing finger at some local importers, who it says are simply seeking to fatten their pockets. This as the president of the Egg and Poultry Producers Association, Andrew Gill, expresses satisfaction that the dispute will soon come to an end. Our Emmanuel Joseph has that story.
Speaking out on the dispute for the first time today, General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Sir Roy Trotman, accused some individuals of seeking profits only to the detriment of local poultry producers and the economy as a whole. Sir Roy said he is being made to understand that every effort was being made to bypass local producers in an effort for some persons to make individual profits at the expense of the well-being of the whole economy. He said he was alarmed that this was happening in spite of calls for all Barbadians to join together to help in the exercise of rallying for economic recovery. At the same time, the president of the Egg and Poultry Producers Association, Andrew Gill, told Barbados Today this morning everything is being done to resolve the chicken import dispute and that they were taking the necessary steps. He said he was working with his committee to ensure that the necessary action was being taken. But subsequently, Minister of Commerce Donville Innes, whose Department of Commerce is responsible for issuing such licenses, defended the decision. Innes suggested there was nothing untoward about the recent decision by the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation granting permission for the local company to import the chicken wings. In fact, the government minister who would have okayed the decision has suggested that he sees no reason why there has been such a furore over the decision. For Barbados Today, Emmanuel Joseph reporting.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Well, the government offers the private sector a lifeline amidst the prevailing economic challenges. Officials of the sector will, in coming months, have the opportunity to tap into a number of government-funded projects under an Inter-American Development Bank multilateral investment grant of $156 million. Senator Jepter Ince made the offer at a procurement fair at the Lloyd Erskine Sanford Center today. He says government will get a chance to bid on several projects, including goods and services in an IDB member country. He believes the plan will reap great dividends for the country.
Winning a greater portion of government contracts would allow our local businesses to grow at a faster rate, which would then translate into greater job creation in our economy. More money and more jobs in Barbados would help put our economy back on a sustainable growth path and development.
In other news, a Barbadian educator says the thirst for learning is fading away while a block and ghetto culture is on the rise in the island schools. Principal of the Graydon Sealy Secondary School, Matthew Farley, sounded the alarm today as he addressed the graduation ceremony of the St. Lawrence Primary School. Mr. Farley complained that the school environment is becoming more and more hostile, with educators unable to handle the situation.
There are about 15 to 20 students in every secondary school who should not be in a mainstream school because they defy the authority of teachers, of principals, and whose parents have thrown up their hand in helpless despair. Every day. My colleagues and I have to confront students between 12 and 16 who are on a steady diet of marijuana, who test as high as 200 and 300 and 400 and 900 nanograms per milliliter of urine.
To sports now, St. Martin's Mangrove and Cuthbert Moore made it into the final 16 of the Baiko Primary School football competition. Playing at the National Stadium today, Cuthbert Moore defeated Sealer Primary 3-1 thanks to goals from Shakron Jack, Kashawn Beckles and Shabari Lynch. Hakeem Sobers netted for Sealer Primary. In the second game, St. Martin's Mangrove beat Hillby Turners Hall 1-0 in an evenly matched encounter. Scoring the all-important goal for the winners was Jaden Amy. To action now from the FIFA World Cup. Oribe Peralta struck in the second half as Mexico got their campaign on the way with a 1-0 victory over a lackluster Cameroon in a rain-affected Natal today. It was more than the Mexicans deserved after playing the more enterprising football and having 2 Giovanni Dos Santos goals controversially disallowed for offside in the first half.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
To news now from around the region, the former director of the Caribbean HIV/AIDS Regional Training Network, Dr. Brendan Bain, is seeking redress in the law courts. Lawyers for the retired professor filed an injunction in the Jamaica Supreme Court yesterday against the University of the West Indies Mona campus, challenging his dismissal from the Chart Institute. Dr. Bain is challenging the UWI on 15 grounds. Among them, he claims his disagreement with the terms of his removal, which he argues conflicts with his rights to freedom of expression. He's also seeking to remain in the post pending the outcome of the application. Dr. Bain was fired after gay rights groups raised concerns about his testimony in a high-profile case in Belize 2 years ago. We'll continue to watch how that unfolds. Onto the international scene, United States troops will not venture back into Iraq. That directive from President Barack Obama as pressure mounts for him to provide military support to Iraq's struggling government. ISIS fighters have been raining terror in Iraq for days now by seizing the second largest city of Mosul as part of plans to control large parts of the country's northern area, including the capital Baghdad. But President Obama says unless Iraq gets a handle on its political problems, troops will remain on U.S. soil.
We can't do it for them. And in the absence of this type of political effort, short-term military action, including any assistance we might provide, won't succeed. So this should be a wake-up call. Iraq's leaders have to demonstrate a willingness to make hard decisions and compromises on behalf of the Iraqi people in order to bring the country together. In that effort, they will have the support of the United States and our friends and our allies.
Well, that's been our 6 o'clock update. You can log on all weekend long for your latest news and sports to www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper or like us on Facebook. I'm Kamar Jordan, wishing you a fantastic weekend and look forward to seeing you bright and early on Monday morning.
This news update is brought to you by...
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
Get your sun power.